Well, who would have known that the constellation of Gemini is so beautiful? Thank you for joining me. Happy Flynn here. And if you have tuned in before, you will see that I've changed the interface for my platform. And this is the beginning of quite a few changes I'm hoping to bring to my reports, starting with a little bit more music. At the beginning of this video, you heard a little part of a little loop that I recorded for this Gemini New Moon, hoping it would be evocative of some of the message of this new moon. If you'd like to hear the whole of the loop, I'll be putting that on at the end, as well as maybe a couple little surprises regarding what I hope to bring in the future. But getting to this new moon in Gemini, 2 degrees on the 22nd of this month of May 2020. Lots of twos in there, you might notice. Actually, if you break it down off the top of my head, 2nd degree, 22, 6, 2020, 10, 1. Yes, whole new beginning, new cycle. Now, if you look at the bottom there, you'll see the blue, the red, and the green circles. Let's look at the green to begin with, because the green is the north node in Gemini at 29 degrees, 29 degrees in that little circle, and the top where the green dot is, that's 29 degrees where the south node is. If you recall a couple of reports ago, I said I wanted to talk about looking at reports through the lens of Gemini somewhat, because the north node is very significant in Gemini for the next year and a half. This is a whole new trend. We're going to have the eclipse period through the Gemini Sagittarius axis for a year and a half, beginning later in this year. And what that means is the North Node is calling our attention to what we need to be paying attention to. That is our future. The North Node is our future. And in transit for the next year and a half, we need to look at Gemini. Being that Sagittarius is where our South Node is now, just starting, let's just touch on what Sagittarius is about. Sagittarius is about our philosophies, it's our higher knowledge, it's our religions, it's our beliefs in many ways, it's our ideals, it's our what brings wisdom to our life. So we are going to go through some change in that area. Perhaps we are going to change what we thought we knew, because new information is going to come to enhance that. But somehow, some way or another, we are leaving at least some aspects of our philosophy, of our beliefs, our ideals. And of course, we all know, given that we're all having to be in residence, staying home, slowly the doors opening for us to move out into the world again. We have no idea of when we'll be able to go further afield, to travel long distance. This is Sagittarius. Sagittarius, it rules long distance travel, and the next year and a half, and we know that this whole journey that we're all going through together is long lasting, at least for the next year and a half. And during that time, long distance travel will not be a common thing. Instead, looking to Gemini, looking to our North Node, we're looking at doing much more short distance local travel. But let's go back now and look deeper into Gemini, because Gemini is all about communication. It's about understanding, it's gathering information, it's analyzing, it's computing, it's chatty. And of course, we're all very chatty through our Gemini gadgets, I might add, our cell phones, our laptops, our iPads, whatever they happen to be. That is the realm of Gemini, communicating through electronics and gadgets. That is what we are doing, of course. I find that with astrology, when we're moving into a new phase, often we start to have that experience. It becomes more and more evident before we actually even arrive there. And I would say that's very true for these times. But let's also look at the duplicitous side of Gemini, because Gemini, they are the twins. So we have both sides of what is going on, be it truth, be it mistruth, it being duplicitous. It can be confusing. It can be one thing and then the next thing. We are in a time right now of not really knowing what is true and what is not true, even what is fake news. And this might not be intentional. It's just that there's a lot of information gathering happening at this time. But we also have something happening that's clouding all of this all the more. And that is, you see the red circle at the bottom making a line up towards Pisces, and Neptune happens to be in its home of Pisces right now. That is a square that is happening with Neptune and Venus, because Venus and Mercury, the messenger of the gods, in its home in Gemini right now. Mercury and Venus are square Neptune. They're square Neptune, causing a tension. And Neptune and Pisces, what is Neptune and Pisces? It's the dream state. It can be the illusory state. It can be disillusion. It can be it's mystical. It's spiritual. It's hidden. It's the clouds. It is the fog. So we can be in a fog about everything. And I would say that's a very fair thing to say, given that none of us really know how things are going to transpire. We're still in this kind of holding phase, which is very in line with the fact that we are now in a retrograde stage with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, and also Venus. They're all retrograde. This is like a moment to retrace, reassess, retract a little bit, rethink, reanalyze. Like, we're all about to embark upon stepping out of our homes and into the world again, but we're all a bit tentative, or at least many of us will be a bit tentative about that. It's a little bit of retreat, while at the same time we want to, but we have this dissonance going, we have this tension going. We want to, but we don't want to. And the other thing about this, with Mercury and Venus being conjunct, Mercury wants to talk, it wants to communicate, it wants to understand, it wants to speak out, it wants to be heard, it wants to hear. And Venus rules our relationships, rules our balance, rules our harmony, our money, our partnerships of all kinds, be it business partnerships or personal partnerships, our intimate circles. But here's the thing, Venus is in this sort of retreating phase for a while, whereas Mercury wants to be active, it wants to chat, it's always on the move, doesn't necessarily want to stay still and take a moment for pause, which is what is happening for Venus. So the thing that we need to be careful of, because Gemini rules contracts, it rules negotiations, putting our signature on papers and such. So we want to be careful that we don't rush, we take our time, that we don't speak out of turn because we become impatient and want to move ahead. A little bit of holding still is a good thing at this time, until those clouds there in Pisces, Neptune, those potential clouds start to clear. Of course, Neptune in Pisces is the great poet, the musician, the muse. So we may be inspired, our words may be inspired. That tension isn't necessarily negative. It can give us impetus to push forward and move on. But we always want to assess both sides. We want to look at the light, and we also want to look at the shadow. This is the story, this is the journey of the moon. The moon is a dark moon right now. It's in darkness, and as it waxes to shine into a full moon, more clarity will come. We will have moments of enlightenment. Mercury is liquid, mercurial, fast, lightning bolt. We have an enlightenment moment. We have to wait for the moment. Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and it could be because it's a dark moon, and the moon rules our subconscious. It rules our deep inner knowing, but it's in the dark right now. So there's a lot of information in the depths, and we're waiting for that to piece together bit by bit, just like computing, bits and bytes, bits and bits coming together till we have a clearer picture. And the fog, if there is fog, it clears away. We also have, I haven't noted it here, but we have Saturn, and that's making a square to this new moon, which means to say Saturn is in Aquarius at this moment. It's gone retrograde and will head back into Capricorn for a while, and then it will make its journey through Aquarius. But Aquarius is space. It's out there and it's detached. And the thing about that, it has the wider view. And with Saturn being there and making aspect to this moon, even though it is a square, it is giving us some grounding. It is earth in the air sign, so that we don't float away, that we don't get out of our head, that we have a fortification in terms of being able to take our time to get a clearer picture. It's very important that we take our time. Saturn is also time. The picture will become clear, and it's in Aquarius, an air sign which is detached. Gemini is an air sign, it's making this trine. And so trines are very harmonious. That's where that fortification is coming from, that grounding, giving us the capacity in time to see the picture and to have faith in that journey of waiting for that to come, to not be hasty. We have to be careful with Mercury and Gemini because it wants to go fast, but we're in a retractive phase right now of a much bigger cycle. And so I would suggest it'd be very useful for you to know where your Gemini is in your chart, what area of your life specifically is being having a light shone on it in terms of what is coming to you, what is going to actualize for you, so that you can work with that energy to best effect. So I leave it all there for the moment, except to say I invite you to converge in a mindful way during this new moon. All the details, as you can see, are right over here. Details and time converge mindfully, heartfully. Let us use those energies of Mercury and Venus during this new moon to converge so that we all gain greater clarity for our individual and our collective journeys.
Be not deceived by my sighs, a marker of time. I am a face of stone, mother. Everywhere you look, you can see me. Look up into the heavens. There I am, looking upon you. Those other worlds you see are of my domain. I am Eve of creation. Into the bowels I am molten. In my center, this writhing stone you call home is solid. I am great mountain, grain of sand. Hold me in your hands. Can you see? I am eternal.